So we have asked you to get logged into your Schoology account. Philip is here to be able to assist you with that. In addition to that, you are currently looking at my screen, which is the webinar screen. But at some point, I'm going to ask you to log into your Schoology account, and I'm going to want you to participate in the training. And so to be able to do that, if you only have one monitor, then you're going to have to press the escape button on your keypad, and that will minimize the webinar window and allow you to toggle between the webinar and participating in a separate, internet browser tab. Your other option would be, and this is great for
Hey,
the
Laurie,
next
sorry.
2 sessions. Yes. Yes.
Someone's waiting to be let in, I think.
I have let her in. I have pressed the button, and it keeps popping her back out.
Oh, okay.
I don't know why. She may need to relaunch the whole thing. I'm going to hit remove.
All right, I'll tell her.
Well, actually, tell her to leave. I don't want to hit remove.
Okay.
Tell her to leave and relaunch it, because I've clicked that button 6 or 7 times to admit her, and it's not letting, I don't know why it's not letting her in.
All right, no problem. I'll work on it.
Okay. Okay, great.
Okay, bye.
All right. So as you are trying to watch the webinar and participate, you're going to have to toggle back and forth. Another option would be for your second and third sessions, you can log into the webinar on a separate device. So if you have a tablet or a phone, you want to grab your kid's laptop, log in using their device, you could prop that up and watch the webinar on one screen and then participate on your laptop. So I try to make sure I'm giving you directions as to what I'm clicking on, what I'm talking about, so that you can follow along in case you're not looking at my screen. I also do repeat things 2 and 3 times to try and make sure that you're catching it. So been doing this for a while, so we're going to work through it and make sure everybody's able to participate along with it. This is Schoology for Master Instructors. It is a 6-hour training. We're doing it in 2-hour chunks of time. It is designed to lead you through the process of becoming a Schoology trainer for your organization. And so some of what we do, you can turn around and do the exact same type of activity with your teachers as you get them up and running. So everything that I use in my course, we actually can give you copies of. Same with the slide deck. So I'm going to get to some pieces of information here very soon, and don't worry about taking screenshots or anything like that. You're going to get a copy of the slide deck. So if you want to take notes, obviously, if that helps you, please do so. But you won't need to frantically try and take screenshots of what I'm displaying to you. The Master Instructor course, we really walk through building the different materials. First, we drop you into a training course where you are a student and you are going to turn in some work to me. We want you to have that Schoology student experience. We want you to understand what it feels like to be a student inside the platform. So we'll go through that process. We'll then kind of switch this over into teacher mode, and we're going to walk you through how to build the different materials. So it makes it a lot easier once you've seen them from the student perspective. We will walk through the process of how to grade student work. So you're going to turn in work to me, and you are my students. I'm going to grade that work. And then we're also going to talk a little bit about groups and resources. We will leave you with a ton of different resources that you can use to do your own Schoology training and to just help to roll Schoology out. All right. My name is Lori Collier. I am a Senior Professional Development Specialist here at Schoology. I've been with Schoology for 6 years. Prior to that, I spent 15 years at an educational service center and a state technology center in Northeast Ohio. So I'm about an hour south of Cleveland. I am 8 hours west of New York City. I am still in the Eastern time zone. I also spent a number of years as adjunct faculty at a local university. I taught pre-service teachers how to incorporate technology into their future classrooms. So I have been working with adult educators and adult learners for more than 20 years. So I am happy to be with you guys today. Couple of just little pieces of trivia about Canton, Ohio. I've been doing these same trivia items now for a number of weeks, but mostly I tell people it's because, you know what, you're stuck at home and you want to look up new information. So 3 famous locations in Canton, Ohio. We are home to the Pro Football Hall of Fame, and that's American football. Pro Football Hall of Fame. We have a large festival over the summer for the enshrinees, and still hoping most of that happens. We are home to the President William McKinley Library and Burial Location. He practiced law here in Canton. And finally, we are home to the First Lady's National Library. President William McKinley's wife, Ida Saxton McKinley, lived in Canton. They saved her house from being bulldozed over, and they did eventually turn it into the First Lady's National Library. So just a little bit of trivia for you about Canton, Ohio, so in case you have time later and feel like looking some stuff up. All right. Philip has dropped a little bit of information into the chat window about making sure people are getting logged in. I will stop again later, making sure that everybody is logged in. It looks like we've got everybody that was in the waiting room into the meeting, so hopefully we've got everybody. So we want to do a little bit of background information about what is Schoology. It is a learning management system, and what that really means for you, for teachers, for students. It does become that central location where teachers can build out their course content, not only for their students to interact with, but for them to use as well as part of their instructional materials. So it's starting to streamline that process of putting everything in one spot. Schoology is being used in face-to-face environments. It's being used in online environments. It is being used in a combination of those two. So it is not strictly for, just that online course. It really is for that everyday course, even when my teachers get to be up in front of their students. You do have the ability to load all of your course content so teachers can build the different items that they need. You have the ability to share items with each other. So even though one teacher might build it, they actually can share it with another educator. You have the ability to collect student work, and we're going to do that together here today. So allowing our students to do those online discussions, we can collect homework assignments from them. They can take an online assessment. There's other items that students can interact with as well. We will build those together. Mentioned to you already the ability to share resources. We will talk about Schoology groups on day number 3, but it does allow you to collaborate with each other and share items. We integrate with Google Drive, OneDrive, Vimeo, YouTube. There's a whole app center that you can download items and install those inside of your different courses. So it does become that, that central hub, that one-stop location for our teachers, students, our building administrators, so that they can communicate with all of the teachers in their buildings. So we will work our way through all of these different pieces of information. I want to talk briefly about your student information system. Philip, I'm going to do this, and if there's anything you feel you need to add for clarity for the group, I'll turn it over to you after I kind of do my brief overview of this.
No problem.
So your student information system is PowerSchool. That means somebody does all of the central scheduling in one location. They maintain those student names, the courses, the course codes, the section codes. It's where all that information is housed. those pieces of information leave PowerSchool and come over to Schoology. What does that mean? It means we bring over the courses, the sections, and the student roster that belongs in those courses. It brings over the student name. It brings over the teacher that's assigned to those courses. So what does that do? It means when you log into Schoology and that integration has run, the courses that you need and that your colleagues need will be there, and the student roster will be there. In addition to that, once it is set up, and I don't think it is up and running right now, so I don't think that's too far-fetched of a statement, we do have the ability to do what is called grade passback. We can send grades from Schoology back over to PowerSchool. So there are some steps that have to be involved to make that happen, but that is typically something we kind of deal with over summer recess, and then kind of give a little bit more detail the closer we get to the start of the next academic year. So Philip, if you have extra information that you want to add, clarifying information, maybe I said something wrong, or if you want to speak to the grade passback, I want to give you the floor and let you do that.
I'm just gonna let you go, and I'm just helping monitoring the chat too, though, by the way.
Yes, great. That is perfect. No, especially when we get to the student information part, I do like to make sure that somebody from the organization of the school district has the chance to say anything that needs said. So I just like to make sure that I've opened that up to you.
All right, no problem. Thanks.
All right, fantastic.
Philip, I can't get on.
All right, we'll sort you out after in a little bit, Arnold. We'll sort you out.
Okay.
I sent
All right.
Arnold some
So,
information.
All right, guys, we'll sort it out in a minute. We'll just let Lori do her thing.
okay, fantastic. All right. So I want to do a little overview of how to navigate the Schoology platform and to highlight some of the different communication tools that are available to you. And so we're going to do that. We're getting close to where you need to be able to log in. So I know that Philip is helping a couple of you with that. Logged in yet, it's okay. If you are logged in and want to do some of these, clicking around with me, you're encouraged to do that. So for right now, I'm going to get out of my slide deck, and I accidentally closed, there it is. And I'm going to get into my training school. And when you are logged into Schoology, when you click on the logo in the upper left-hand corner, that's going to take you to your home page. So when you initially log in, it drops you onto the home page. When you click the logo, takes you to the home page. You may or may not see any tiles. My screen, I've got lots of square tiles for the different courses that I teach. And your students will see those same types of tiles. When you are the teacher of a course, you will see the tiles. So right now, you might not have anything showing on the course dashboard, but once you join my training course, then you will see that specific tile. Up across the top, courses, groups, and resources. I will talk a little bit more about that in just a few minutes, but we're going to look at this static toolbar. Everybody, regardless of their account, has courses, groups, and resources up across the top. And as we look over towards the right, you have some different icons available. There is a folded envelope. That's usually the easiest one for people to find. So there's a folded envelope up across the top. That is private messaging inside of the Schoology platform. So you can send a message to another educator within your organization. You can send messages to students. You can send messages to your system administrator, your building principal. It works just like email. You open it up, type in the person's name, send a message. Students can also send messages to their teachers, and I always feel like that's really important for teachers to know because it will send that message inside of Schoology. If you receive a message, there'll be a little yellow circle with a number in it, letting you know how many unread messages you have. In addition to that, it will send an email to the account that has been used to set up your Schoology account. So whatever that email address is, you'll also get an email that says, hey, you have a message inside of Schoology. The best part is you can respond to that message directly from your email. So if a student does send a message to their teacher, teacher's going to get the message, they're going to get an email, and they can just respond directly from their email. So just want to make sure, especially from the student perspective, if they message their teachers, please be aware that's where it's coming from. I'm going to go backwards one icon. To the left of the folded envelope is a little calendar icon. When I click on that, there's not going to be anything for you to see just yet, but if I click on the calendar icon, it does take me to my calendar that shows me all of the different courses that I teach and all of the different work that is due. So when I create discussions, assignments, or assessments, and I put a due date on them, they drop onto the calendar. They drop onto the course calendar for the student and the teacher. They drop onto the homepage calendar for the student and the teacher. And they drop here onto what I kind of refer to as the master calendar or the summary calendar for the teacher and the student. You put it in once and the information flows throughout the system. What I like about this calendar, it shows me all of my courses in one spot, and I can see everything that has a due date all in one spot. Kind of important when I have multiple courses that I'm teaching and multiple things going on at one time. The other piece that is great about this is if I have all those different courses and I've got lots of due dates, and maybe something didn't land on the right day, or I put a due date in and I need to change it. Yes, you can change it from within a course. But if I'm looking at all of my courses in one spot and I've got lots of things going on and I simply want to move something, I can click, drag, and drop, and it will move that item on the calendar. It'll update the due date, and it'll update all of those other calendars for myself and my students. So it's just a quick way to double check, do I like the layout of the due dates of all of my items? And you can always move things around. The other thing that teachers can do from here, when we click that drop-down arrow, they can color code their courses. So the course I'm teaching for you guys today actually is at the top of my list because I had moved my courses around, and I'm going to color code that. So I can pick and choose different colors for different courses. I'm color coding for myself. I am not color coding for my students. I do want to do just a quick student view of this, and let me log in as my student. That window closed earlier and I forgot to reopen it. My student has logged in. Same look and feel. So what I like about that same look and feel, your teachers don't have to learn something new. Schoology looks the same for the students as it does for the teachers. Things are in the exact same spot. My student logged in. She's clicked on the calendar at the top. The icon's in the same spot. She has lots of courses and she has lots of things that are due. She cannot change the due date, but she can color code her courses so she can pick and choose her colors. The other thing that I really like, my students have month view, week view, and day view. So do the teachers. But for the student to go to day view, they can add their own items to their calendar. They can use the day view as a day planner. If they have a research project, they need to go meet their study partner, go meet their guidance counselor, whatever it is, they can put that on their own calendar by simply clicking on the date and time, typing in who they're going to meet with or what they're supposed to be doing. Maybe they're going to block off some time to study for a test. And she's going to create that event. So my student can create her own events and put them on her own calendar. If she needs to move that appointment, she can click, drag, and drop her own appointments. But it's an electronic day planner for my students. So I love that feature. We don't spend a lot of time on it, but I wanted to make sure you were aware it was available for the students. I'm going to switch back over to my teacher account. So I'm just switching tabs up there across the top. Teachers also have month view, week view, and day view, but I do think that the student piece of the day view is probably the more important of those items.
Quick question, Lori.
Yes.
Are we able to connect these calendars to like work calendars?
You can, at the bottom, there's an import and export option.
All right.
But you have to, couple little pieces of information here. If you import, it's a one-time import. So if I try to import my personal calendar, it's going to bring it into Schoology, but it brings it in once, and it drops it onto my personal calendar here inside of Schoology because it's somebody else's source data, so we don't have control over it. It brings it in, drops it on your calendar. If you use the export feature, you can export the items from Schoology over to your calendar. And so it will continually run and continue to update that calendar.
Right.
Because
that's the one. Okay. That's the feature.
Yep. So exporting, exporting is good because it continually runs. It's our data. So it's our source data. But the import, it doesn't, people think, oh, I'm just going to import my calendar and it's going to keep running. Unfortunately, no, because it's not our data. So import and export, but I can grab you the Help Center articles on those topics and make sure they're in the training course so you can read a little bit more about that.
All right. Thank you.
All right. So I'm going to click my logo in the upper left-hand corner. Almost done with our static toolbar. There is a little bell also on that static toolbar. That is the notifications icon. As a teacher, I get notified when my students turn in work to me. So as individuals are completing assignments, discussions, assessments, I'm getting notified that that work is done. I also get notified if I have a co-teacher, if they upload content, if I belong to a Schoology group and somebody shares content in there, I get notified about that. Students have the same icon, notification bell. They get notified when teachers create new content, so new assignments, new discussions. They also get notified when a teacher grades their work and posts that grade inside of Schoology for them to see. So the notification works the same way, it's in the same spot, it's just different information that the student receives. You don't have to do anything to make that work. Notifications are automatic. As we look at the home screen, I mentioned those tiles, and down the right-hand side, I do have my upcoming events for the different courses that I teach. My students have this exact same view. Looks exactly the same for them. The only difference is in the upper corner, they actually have a little section called overdue. So if they have work that they were supposed to complete and the due date has passed, they'll get an overdue notice. So that's the only piece that looks a little bit different, but the layout is exactly the same. The tiles are showing because of the courses that I teach. That's the course dashboard. As you look at the logo in the left-hand corner, look right below it. You're going to see the words recent activity and then the words course dashboard. I'm looking at my course dashboard, but if I click on recent activity, I see the updates that have been posted from the different courses that I belong to, as well as different groups that I belong to. So I'm in a lot of different groups because of training and different stuff. So I am going to see those different pieces of information. The recent activity, think of it as an information feed or a news feed. It is info from the updates inside of courses as well as groups. And I'll show you how to do that a little bit later on. Students have this same option. They can look at recent activity or their course dashboard. All right, we're going to talk about courses, groups, and resources. I'm going to go back to my slide deck for this because I do like to kind of put it to you in picture form. Sometimes it's a little bit easier. And then after this, everybody will need those accounts to be able to be logged in. So courses, groups, and resources. And I'm just going to reiterate, just because we had a lot of people join after I did the initial introduction, you will get a copy of the slide deck. You can make yourself a copy. So if you want to take notes, that's fine, but you'll get a copy of this slide. This is probably one of the most important slides in the slide deck. So courses, groups, and resources. Everybody has those options on that static toolbar. It does not matter if you're a teacher, a student, building principal, district administrator. Everybody has courses, groups, and resources. Courses. This is really the here and now for the classroom teacher. These are those items that came over from your student information system. So in simple terms, they are active during the academic year. If school starts on September 1 and ends on May 31, for example, the course will be active. That's when the teacher and the students are interacting with the items that are in there. Courses, this is where the teacher builds all of their content. It is where students interact with that content. It is where they turn in work. Courses, it is the only place where teachers can collect student work, and it is the only place where they can grade that student work. It is also the only place where students can view that grade that they've received for the items that were graded inside of Schoology. Every course has its own calendar. You can push out updates and announcements. Generally speaking, during the academic year, teachers spend 95% of their time in courses, and that's because that's where their students are interacting with the items, but it's also where teachers are presenting their information to their students. When we scoot over and talk about groups, groups and courses look very similar on the surface. They both have a menu down the left-hand side. They both have a calendar down the right-hand side, but they function very differently. Groups are really for collaboration and communication. I can set up faculty groups, content-specific groups, grade level groups, student organizations. My building administrators could set up a group for all of the faculty in the building, and we could run our faculty staff meeting from within Schoology. You have the ability to share content. So you can create content inside of a group, put the teachers in the group, and then the teachers can grab those items and push them over to their courses. So it does allow you to create things in a central location and distribute those out to multiple people. Finally, resources. Everybody has personal home space under the resource menu. It's where you can save items that you want to utilize later. It is where you can create content under there and share it with an individual person. So maybe you didn't need it in a group, but you still needed to share it. You can do that under the resource menu. You also have access to public resources. So these are Schoology resources created by other Schoology educators, so other teachers. Things that they have created and used in their classroom, they've uploaded those to public resources. It is a great place for you to go to look for ideas or inspiration. When you are doing training, and maybe you have teachers that are kind of struggling with ideas, we will supply you with all kinds of samples, but maybe you need something different. Go look in public resources, lots of items in there. You have a student that is struggling with a certain idea or a concept. I know teachers, they will try anything and everything to help that student. Sometimes the way a different teacher explains it will reach that student. Public resources. I use it to get training materials. I create tons of my own training materials. So do the other PD specialists here at Schoology, but sometimes I just want something new. And so I'll go looking through public resources and see what I can find. So once you take something out of public resources, you can make changes to it, use it the way it was designed, just take pieces, parts of it. So great place to look for ideas. All of that, super important, but so are the arrows on the screen. I've kind of alluded to it. Once you create something in Schoology, you never have to recreate it. You can copy or move it to another spot in the platform. So if I'm in a course and I create something and one of my colleagues says, hey, I'd really like that rubric. Can you share that with me? Absolutely. I can share it with them through resources, or if we both happen to be in a group together, I can push it over there. If I'm in a content group and we've created some content for our teachers and all of our teachers are in there, they can push the content over into their courses. If the teacher is in their course, they can pull the content in. Those arrows go both directions. At the end of the academic year, courses will archive. And so you're quite a ways away from seeing that happen, but courses will archive. And they archive because your courses run off of grading periods. The school year does eventually end at some point. And so when those courses archive, what it's doing is it's taking that teacher's course, it's moving it from the active list into the archived list, last year's course. It takes with it all the student names, everything the students turned in, all the grades, all the discussion comments, everything is there. But next year's courses are coming over. I need a copy of my content. I don't need all the answers and all the discussion stuff. I just need a clean copy. Teachers can save an entire copy of their course into resources. The new school year starts. I pull in my copy, put in some due dates, make a few adjustments, maybe update a couple things, and I'm ready to go. You start to reuse your courses from year to year. You get a clean copy every year. You get your new student roster, calendars update, all that good stuff. You bring in a copy of your materials and reuse them. Huge time saver. All right, courses, groups, and resources. It really is. I spend a lot of time talking about it because it is that important. You have to understand those differences. People will get in, they learn a lot about Schoology on their own, but sometimes they don't understand the differences between courses and groups. And they think, oh, I can set up a group for myself and my students and teach them from there. Well, you can't collect any student work. So then you have to move everything over to courses. So just making sure that we understand those differences. Questions I can answer about courses, groups, or resources. I promise it becomes more clear the more we're in there and the more we're moving around. All right, I continue to watch that chat window just in case you do have questions. So I'm going to get you into my training course. I will actually put the code in the chat window and let me show you where that code is going to go. And then I promise I will bring that back up on the screen. And let me just double check. I've had a lot of training and I try to make sure that I've copied the right codes. I did. Okay. You need to be logged into your Schoology account. So when you are logged into your account, up across the top, click on the word courses. Once you've clicked on the word courses, the screen's going to load. And on the right, you're going to see the words My Courses. Click that link that says My Courses on the far right. And you are going to see a button that says Join a Course. Click that button. Window is going to open, and that's where the access code is going to go. So give me just a second. I'm going to copy and paste this into the chat window, so you can simply copy and paste it into that access code window. So there it is. You can copy and paste. If you're looking at my screen and you're going to type that in, I'm going to make that bigger for you. You do need all the letters and numbers, but they do not have to be capital. So if you're typing it in, they don't have to be capital. They can be upper or lower. And the dash is optional, just makes it easier to read. So I'll give everybody a minute to get that in there.
It told me to try again in a few minutes.
Every once in a while, I'm seeing that. Just go ahead and reload courses at the top. My courses over on the far right, and then try to put that code in again. I sometimes think like we're all hitting the button like at the exact same time. I don't know why. I don't see it that often. It just pops up every once in a while. So just give it a minute to let that load. Let me know if anybody else is having trouble.
All right, I got it.
Fantastic. All right, anybody else having trouble? All right, I'm going to get out of my slide deck and get over to where all of you are at. So it should have put you into, you might still be on the screen with a list. You should see Schoology for Master Instructors. Couple of things that you can do if you're on that other screen. You can click on the logo in the upper left-hand corner and then click the tile to get into the course. So we want to make sure that everybody's landed inside of the course.
Could you please go back to the code? I am getting trouble getting in. It's saying that you have successfully joined the code, but I'm not seeing what you have here.
So when we clicked on courses and my courses, the code is in the chat window. So the easiest thing is going to be to, when you click join a course, make sure you're under courses. You should be able to simply copy that code and paste it into the access code and then click join. What it does is it leaves you on this screen. I've got tons of courses that I teach. It leaves you on this screen and you're looking for the one for Schoology for Master Instructors, and then it says Bermuda. If you click the logo in the upper left-hand corner, you'll see a tile for it, and then you'd be able to get in there as well.
Got it. It was at the bottom of my page. Got it.
Yep, yep. Sometimes that's where it ends up. It just depends on how many tiles you have. So I'm back on my course dashboard. I'm not going to scroll all the way down there. I've got more than 50. So it's a long ways down when they're down there at the bottom. All right. So you've joined my training course. You are a student. So if you look at my screen and then look at yours, there's really not a whole lot of difference here. There is a menu down the left-hand side. That menu has a few different options for the teacher than it does for the student. In the middle section is my folder structure. It's where I'm housing all of my different items. And then finally, over on the far right, I have some items that have due dates. That's our student work that we're going to complete together. So in that middle section, today's agenda is up there at the top. So you can click on that agenda if you'd like to kind of see where we're going and what we're going to cover. We're going to spend today and probably all of our next session inside of courses. So working with courses from the student view and from the teacher view. So it's not a fast moving agenda here. We're kind of stuck in one section for quite some time. Also at the top of the training course is the slide deck. And so if you want to make yourself a copy, you are welcome to do that. So I don't use everything that's in there. I tend to use my training course. I show the things in my live environment, but there are screenshots there that kind of help with some of those pieces of information. So that's at your disposal as well. Inside of the training course are lots of resources. So typically what I do when training is done, we'll make a couple of you admins, and you can copy over the different pieces of information so that you can use them for your own training. No point in reinventing the wheel when you have to do training, so you can use our items. But what's inside of here, there is some student information system items. So the stuff for PowerSchool is in there. Navigating and communicating. I did most of these just by clicking through and talking to you about them. But here's links to all of the different items that I've covered. So if you do better reading, you're like, well, I know she showed it to me, but I really want to read about it. Here's the Help Center links that you can read. So we have organized our course with folders, and folder structure comes into play when we start talking about teachers creating courses. Right now, we're kind of in that course overview section. So we're going to do some information around materials. I'm talking a little bit about course organization. We'll have everybody make a Sandbox course, and so we'll walk through that process so that you have someplace to build items. But what we're really going to concentrate on is the red folder that says Student Experience. There are some items in here, and I will give you a few minutes here in just a little bit to do a little exploring, but we want to do some student items together. You don't even need to be inside the red folder. Scroll back up towards the top. When you are at the top of the training course, over on the far right, you have upcoming events. There's a welcome introduction, that is a discussion, and then we have a couple of assignments, and we are going to work through those together. But first, let's do the welcome introduction. You simply click the title over on the far right, welcome introduction, click that title. You can read the information that is there. So those are clickable links. So if I click on those, it's going to take me to the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame that's located in Cleveland, Ohio. There's a link that will take you to the current list of inductees, so you can meet the class of 2020. And if you scroll down, you can look for lots of other Rock Hall inductees. So take a few minutes, not going to leave you there too long just because I've lost people with this activity. They're digging through the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame looking at stuff. Find a band or a performer that you like. See if you can find some that you have listened to and then come back over to Schoology and answer. There's a little bit of, it's basically introduce yourself. Share your name and your role at your organization. Finish up and tell us who your favorite Rock Hall inductee is. And if you want to bring in a picture or a link and you want to figure that out on your own, you can. It's not required. It's a little bit of exploring. It's a little bit of trial and error. And it's your student experience of completing a discussion. So I'm working on my response, so that's why I'm not talking to you. And while you're doing that, in case you're watching what I'm doing, my student, I have that sample student, I use her to also show the student experience. So I'm going to pop that up on my screen as well. I like to have it on your recording. So if you're watching what I'm doing, that's what I'm doing. I'm going to use my student to answer that same discussion question. So I just like to keep you informed of what I'm doing as I'm jumping back and forth. So finish up your discussion. I know sometimes people kind of get in there and they really start looking around and they're like, wait, I'm still looking. Pick a band. And bring that information over here into our discussion. I do like to kind of see what performers and what bands people pick. It's always fun. All right, so finish that up. I know, like, you just want to kind of stay there and keep looking, but we're going to have to keep moving forward. Fun little activity. And so that is one of those that I feel like, you know, it doesn't even have to be content specific or grade level specific. Everybody likes music. And so it makes for a great quick little discussion. So doing this student experience really helps your teachers grasp the idea of what their students are going to be doing. One important note about discussions, they are student facing. And by that, I mean, when my students respond, everybody can see each other's responses. So it's not a private conversation. This was when you're in here and we click on the discussion, everybody's responding and everybody can read each other's responses. So if you're not quite done, finish up that discussion. We're going to move to the assignment. Give me a second. My one screen just went out and I'm going to have to unplug something and plug it back in. Otherwise, I've lost my chat window. So give me just a second. We're going to hopefully not break the webinar and reset it, my monitor, and see if it doesn't. There it comes. I don't know why it does that every once in a while. So give me a second. I just got to put everything back. All right. So it looks like we grabbed just about everybody. I have 20 ungraded discussion posts. Let me refresh my screen and see if we've picked up anybody else. 25. So we got just about everybody in the webinar to respond to the discussion. So that is great. We do like to make sure you kind of are trying those things out. We're going to move to assignments. How do we collect student work? And what does it feel like to be a student to turn that work in to the instructor? So as you are looking at the training course and you look down the right-hand side, there's two different assignments. One says assignment 1, the other one says assignment 2. They're just numbered so that it's easier for me to call them out to you during training. It does not matter to me which one you pick. The process is going to be the same. So I just have extras in there. As a teacher, I'm going to click on assignment 1. And when that loads, I have a description in the middle. There's a file attached. Not overly concerned about that right now. Description in the middle. And on the far right, it says submissions. For the student, this looks almost identical. The difference is you have a button on the right that says submit assignment. I'm switching tabs and I'm going to pull up my student account. So when my student clicks on assignment 1, description in the middle, submit assignment on the far right. There's a little button. Teachers cannot submit work for their students. Students have to submit it for themselves. So this is the one thing that when we do training, I have to have this sample student because otherwise I can't show you how to turn in work. So I have a sample student. I made her up. I put her in my classes. How do you do that when you're doing training? It's what you have each other for. So if you're doing training and you need a sample student, you can use each other to kind of simulate that experience. It's not hard even if you don't have a sample student to walk people through. Click the Submit Assignment button, and we're going to attach a file. My student's going to walk you through that process so that you can see it. I'm going to do it more than one time. So if you do better with watching it once and then participating, that's fine. If you get it just from me talking you through it, that's fine as well. So from the student view, my student has opened assignment 1 by clicking the title. The page loaded, and on the far right, there's a button that says Submit Assignment. The student is going to click that button, and a little window pops up. We have some options here. The first one is upload. My students can upload a document, a JPEG, a spreadsheet, a PDF, variety of different file types. It could be a video file type for all I care. They can upload those items from the device they are working on. So how do we do that? Right below the word upload, there's a little icon. If I hover over it, it turns to a color and it says file. We're going to click that icon. It's basically going to give you access to the hard drive of the device you are working on. Just upload a file, any file. Upload a JPEG. It doesn't matter to me. This is one of those times where I tell people, upload something that in case I pull your file up to show how to grade, it would be okay. So you don't want a student file with a student name on it. But if you have like a syllabus, a grading policy, maybe a slide deck that you use for class, something like that, it's a safe item for you to upload just in case I pick your item to grade. Highlight the item. I'm going to click Open and then Submit. It's that simple. My students go get the file they want to upload, grab it, upload it, and submit. That's how you can upload files. Doesn't matter what the file type is, grab it and upload it. But there's actually another option there. You can use this exact same assignment. That button now says Resubmit. That's fine. We're going to click that button again. So if you watched the first time, now's the time for you to participate. We're going to click Resubmit Assignment. I've got tabs going across the top. The first one was Upload. The next one says Create. This is an open space inside of Schoology where my students can type and share information. When we're dealing with assignments, it is strictly between the student and the teacher. This Create feature means my students don't have to leave Schoology to answer the question of the day, to do a journal entry, to brainstorm an idea, to start an outline of something that they need to work on. Whatever it is, they can use the Create feature. It's a large white open space. Start typing. You have a bullet list. There's a number list. It allows the students to organize their thoughts. We can do journal entries. We could do current events, question of the day. We could just do a short writing assignment. Why do they need to go someplace else? They don't. They're here inside of Schoology. We're streamlining, keeping our students in one spot. Create feature. If my student doesn't get done, Save Draft is right across the bottom. My student can save it. They can come back and work on it later. So if we worked on it in class, let's just say it was a brainstorming, we had brainstorming time for our research projects. And my student didn't get done. That's all right, save it. Study hall, library time, back at home. It's not due till Friday. Open it back up, click Edit, and then finish it. Now, before I click Submit, Up across the top of this open white space, there is what is called the rich text editor line. And I touched on it. I said you can bold, you can use a number list. You know, you can format your paragraphs here. There are some other features that we are going to touch on from the teacher perspective. How to bring in links, how to insert pictures, how to use the table function. But those are all features that my students have access to here on the Create tab. So those would be things that once my students get kind of proficient at using Schoology and we've collected some assignments, we pull this up and we talk our students through how to use some of these features, which is what I'm going to do with you today and in session number 2. So you'll get that experience, but I like to make sure to point out this text editor line, it's the same for the teacher and the student. And we'll walk through how to use it as a teacher. Go ahead, and if you used this Create feature, go ahead and click Submit. It's okay if you've submitted more than one time. I want to talk a little bit about that Resubmit feature. If a student uploads the wrong file, there's not a way for them to delete it and upload the correct file. They simply resubmit. There is not a way for you as the teacher to delete that wrong file. The student has to resubmit. This means there's no chance of somebody accidentally deleting student work that needs to be kept. You just cannot delete it. So if a student submits the wrong file, it is really not a big deal. Just have them upload the correct one. It's okay. The other thing that happens here with this resubmit feature, you often have work that students do that kind of comes in layers. And I'm going to use English language arts as an example. My students need to do a project, write a research paper, and there's layers to that. We have to brainstorm and then pick our topic. Then we need to outline. Then we need to write a rough draft, and then we need to write a final paper. Do I want to have those in 4 different places? Or do I want to accumulate them in one? Because if I accumulate them in one, when I go to grade it, I can step back in time. If they're all submitted in one spot, I can look at the brainstorm, I can look at the outline, I can look at the rough draft, and then when I look at their final paper and it looks like nothing else they've turned in, I'm like, what was going on here? Where did this come from? But then I don't have to go 3 other places to find all those pieces of information. It's no different than all those pieces of paper. You know, the student comes in with their brainstorming, they throw it on your desk. Next comes the outline. You got to stack outlines. And now you're trying to match up the brainstorm to the outline. Now here comes the rough draft, and now I can't find the outlines. It's organizing all of that for you in one spot. You don't have to keep track of all those different piles of paper. They're electronic. You can use the Resubmit Assignment button to help with that. All right. Hopefully, everybody had a chance to kind of turn something in here. Navigation-wise, you want to use that menu down the left-hand side. To get back to the main page of the course, click the Materials button all the way over on the left. It's right under the course picture. It takes you back to the main materials page. All right, so let me look at that from the teacher perspective. Did we get some student work? I like to make sure you guys are keeping up with what I'm doing. There we go. Look at that, 25 ungraded assignment submissions. Let me tell you, you guys are the best students. Everybody's turning in work. It's perfect. All right. So what we're going to do, we're going to scroll down, and there's a red folder that says Student Experience Course Material Examples. I've got a purple folder for discussions, assignments, assessments, media albums, pages. It's not going to be a ton of time. You get 10 minutes. But look through the samples. Look at the ideas. We're going to build some things together, but it really helps you to have context around what could discussions really look like. The Rock and Roll Hall of Fame one was fun, but what if I really had a discussion I wanted to create for my students? What might that look like? So you can click on these. This one happens to have a video embedded. What a great idea. So take a look at these folders. Dig through them. If you want to turn something else into me, please do. That's fine. I'm going to double check the assessments and make sure they're open. I'm going to set a timer for 10 minutes. That's all I can give you. But I want you to have some thoughts, ideas, context, because when we start to build together, I want you to have a few ideas of things you can do. I'm not going anywhere. I'm going to mute myself. I'm going to double check these assessments and make sure they're open, but you guys get 10 minutes of exploring these examples. So I'm going to grab the timer and turn that on. Let me see, all right. I got to check those assessments. So we're just going to pop this over here quick. It's running. It's kind of small. And it's going to go away and come back. But let me check these. And if you need to get up, walk around, grab something to drink, please do that. But come back. Don't be gone too long.
Hi, Lori.
Yes.
I just had a question since we're here.
Yes.
I had made my own little dummy course on my account, and I was just curious what the difference is between, you know how you could add materials? I was
Yep.
trying to figure out what the difference is between a page and a package.
The page is really, and we're going to, I don't know if we'll get to that. I'll try to get to that today. Pages are informational, where as a teacher, I can load items that I want my students to read about, or I want to put my slide deck in because I'm going to use that for my classroom instruction. So that allows me to give my students information, but I'm not collecting any work from them. When you are looking at the external tool or the package, these are things like if you have electronic textbooks that the district has purchased, you can embed that textbook into your class because you bought electronic textbooks. So pages are really informational. We build those. I do homework help links. I embed a slide deck, and I embed outside tools like Padlet or Answer Garden. Okay. This is more textbooks or purchased, like you purchase outside resources that teachers have access to. So sometimes that's really where this comes into play. So a lot of times there's like a secret key that you have to have the code to make them work. That's what a package is. Pages anybody can build. And that's really what we concentrate more on, is the teacher perspective of things that they can build. The package might be more of a district specific item.
Okay.
Does that help?
Yep.
Okay, I have a question for you. And I can't believe I didn't ask you this. Do you guys use Google Drive or OneDrive?
Mm,
Personally, yes.
yes. We don't use it district wide,
Okay.
but we have like people might be using them like from their own accounts. We're not using a managed one.
Okay, that was my question was there like a district-wide, everybody's using Google Drive or everybody's using OneDrive? Because we run into that a lot. And I looked at my notes. I'm like, I can't believe I didn't ask him that question. I always ask that question. So I'm like, well, it makes, I want to make sure I'm showing you the correct things. So. All right, so you guys still have a few minutes. All right, so we're winding down that 10 minutes of time that you had to go kind of dig through some of those folders, look for some different ideas, maybe run around your house a couple times, grab something to drink. I'm going to go ahead and stop that timer so it doesn't beep at me. And we'll close that tab. So we do want to get everybody back in their seat, wherever you are stationed at for your training. So if you can gather back, that would be great. We're going to move on from student experience over to teacher experience. And we're going to get started with building out a few different items. So we're going to scroll down here just a bit. I'm still in our training course. And there's a green folder that says Course Overview. You can either click that title or you can click the little drop-down arrow right next to it. But inside of there, there's another folder, Course Organization. I'm going to show you how to build folder structure, but there are some examples in here, and we do like for you to see what folder structure looks like. I used it when I created my training course. I used the folders to house the different topics. We used folders to house the examples for discussions and assignments. Folders start to group the items together that the teachers want to use for instructional purposes. You can have as many folders as you need. You can have folders inside of folders. I've got quite a few of them here. You can color code. You can bring in pictures. All things I'm going to show you how to do. But when we start talking about course structure, that's a little bit different for every single person. And it does depend on the grade level that you're teaching, maybe the content area that you are covering. So we want to look at a couple of different examples. I am down in that course organization folder. There's one that's called folder templates, and there's actually a media album that's called course structure. And there are pictures of different course structures. So I'm going to open up my media album. So the first one, it says fourth grade science. It's really kind of set up by the different concepts that are going to be taught. It's not necessarily by chapter, but just different concepts. So this is a pretty easy, common idea, easy to grasp. And so that's usually what I end up teaching you, is this particular structure. Right above the picture, there's a little previous and next button, not the set all the way up there in the corner, right above the picture. I have a different example that's set up by quarters. So what am I going to teach during the first quarter, second quarter, third quarter? Could be grading periods. You might not operate on quarters. You might operate on a different time frame. So you can set it up by the time frame that you're teaching. So maybe it is by quarters or trimesters. Then you have some other folders inside of there. Again, with that little previous and next link right above the picture. Setting things up by unit. So if you're kind of matching, you may have heard Philip and I talking about some just different things that are available. If you have an electronic textbook and you are building your course to go along with that electronic textbook, for example, it might be by units or by chapter. And so unit 2 on my example is the cell. And then inside of there, cell theory, membrane, cell division, all things about cells inside of science. So you could set things up by units. I think what's important is for people to understand there's no right way or wrong way here. And you also are not reinventing the wheel. How has your course been organized? Even if you weren't doing electronically, how have you organized your course in your real life? That's what we're talking about here. How do you package the pieces of information for your students? They're not just thrown all over the place, they're packaged together somehow, some way. Those are folders. This next example is more like a self-contained elementary classroom. So the students come to me and they're with me all day long. I teach them reading and language arts, math, science, and social studies. And then I actually can break that down further. I could break it down by month. What are we going to do during August and September? Then October, November. You can decide how you want to structure your folders. And what you do is probably going to be very different than what the next teacher does. And that's okay. But what's important is that you use folders. Because if you don't, all you have is a big laundry list of a bunch of stuff, and your students can't find anything, and neither can you. All right, we're ready to put that teacher hat on. So up across the top, click on the logo. And we are going to click on courses because I don't think you guys have like pre-created sandboxes, if I remember correctly. So we're going to create an empty course shell.
No, I don't think we did. I think me
Okay.
and Dirk.
Nope, that's
talked
okay.
about it.
I will walk everybody through how to create a place for you to build. So click on courses at the very top. On the far right, we're going to click on My Courses. And hopefully there is a button over there that says Create Course. Click that button. And this is when I find out real quick whether that button is there or not, because I'll start getting a bunch of messages in the chat window. That's a no.
Okay.
I can show you how to fix it real quick.
Okay, yeah, I do that. Yeah, because I don't.
All right. So folks, we got it. We know you don't have it. We're going to fix it. So Philip, if you go to Tools and User Management,
Okay,
and only
please.
Philip can do this, so that.
Yep.
And go over to Permissions on the far left.
Mm-hmm.
Across the top, I'm assuming
Teacher?
Everybody that's having, yep, you probably need teacher.
Yeah.
I got to load mine. And we're going to scroll down just a bit. I got to find it. It's been a while. Let me. It's down under courses. Who can create a course? And you might need to check that box because it's probably unchecked.
Courses, create a course, teacher. Yep, unchecked.
All right. So check
And
it.
then save permissions.
Scroll all the way to the bottom and save permission.
Alrighty.
Okay, now folks, you're going to have to reload your account. So all you have to do is click on Courses at the very top, and then My Courses. We just have to kind of reload that permission, and now you should have the button that says Create Course. All right. So click the button for Create Course, and you are going to make yourself a Sandbox course. So put your name in there and just put the word Sandbox after it. What this is telling you is this is a course with no students in it. It is a made-up course. It is a place for you to try things out and to play around. You will never, ever have students in a Sandbox course. This is strictly for training purposes only. All right. So course name, section name will fill in. You do have to pick a subject area. So other works great. And level, you can pick none or you can pick a grade level. Now, I do not know what your grading periods say. What we are looking for is something that is bold, that has today's date or dates into the future in it. So if somebody wants to tell me what that might say, I'm happy to repeat it. But you need to check the box next to a grading period with today's date or dates into the future. Callie, I see your message. Make sure you've reloaded your system. So click the logo so that everything reloads, and then see if that create button is there under the course menu. All right, so make sure you guys have a grading period. You have to check one, and it has to have today's date or dates in the future.
I have a question.
Yes.
On mine, it says like Q4, and then it has April 27th, 2020 till June 26th, 2020.
That would be fine. That'll work
Okay.
perfect for training. Perfect.
And we don't have to choose us. You said we are supposed
No.
to choose a subject?
You just need one. You just need one grading period that has today's date or a date into the future. So that Q4 will work fine. So you just need to check the one box and then click create. And we want everybody to end up in the same spot. We want you to have your, whatever you called your sandbox, up here at the top. You should have an empty space in the middle with this kind of ghosted image in the background. And then just that blue picture with the white book, that's the default. We want everybody to land inside their own sandbox, and everybody's stuff should right now should look exactly the same. So I'm going to give everybody just a minute to make sure we all land in the same spot. I had one person that was a little bit behind us on the sandbox creation. All right. I don't want to go too far ahead without everybody looking at their sandbox. Do I have anybody who does not have their sandbox course created?
Lori, quick question. Do we have, with the section names, do teachers have permission to change the section names, or is that something I have to open up?
You would have to open that up. So I'm going to kind of speak to what we just did and how you probably are. You're going to want to you're going to want to go back in and uncheck that box that we just turned on. We turned it on for training, and now you're going to want to turn it back off.
Oh, the create.
Yes.
Okay.
Yep, the create course. You want to turn that back off.
All right.
So let me do my statement first, and I'm going to kind of answer Phil's question along with it. What I just had you do was create an empty course shell for training. Because your courses will come over from your student information system, you, the teachers, never, ever should be creating courses manually, ever. Because they come over from the student information system, those are the courses you should be using. We did this because I need a place for you to try things out, and I need a place for you to build. So it's a training function. So that is why we are doing that. At no point should a teacher ever manually create a course. Now, what's going to happen? The integration is going to run, and somebody's going to say, well, I don't have the courses I'm supposed to. you have to talk to the people that do scheduling. Those items come from scheduling.
That's Shina, everybody. That's not me. That is not me.
Putting that name out there.
You speak to the principal and then speak to Shina. That is not me. Just putting that out there.
Okay. So, and sometimes you just have to have a little patience as well. So, you know, I used to work at an educational service center and a technology center, and we dealt with student information systems. Let me tell you, that is a big job, doing all that scheduling. So be patient, things will run, courses will drop where they're supposed to. And I assure you that that roster is going to update, especially at the start of the school year. Those are things, those are normal things. That's just what happens in school districts. So let it run. I've recommended to Phil to turn this feature back off. It is on right now, so we could do this, and I've asked him to turn it back off. You cannot have teachers manually creating courses. It will break your integration system, because if they put something in a course that's not linked to your SIS, and then you turn on grade passback, those grades have no place to go because they're in a course that technically does not exist in your student information system. So, you know, all fun and games about who does scheduling. It really is. It's important to understand why you don't do this, and that is why.
Lori,
Phil,
in relationship to, I understand, I recognize this as a student information system. Can this also be used for teacher PD and certification courses?
yes. So the student information system is scheduling. That's where your students are registered, and you house their grade of record over in your student information system. And there's more information in there than just those few items I mentioned. If you want to use Schoology for PD, absolutely. We have people do it all the time. I'm going to show you how to build course materials. Well, you build course materials for adult learners. You build course materials for teacher training. You build course materials to offer PD to your teachers. So absolutely, those courses have nothing to do with your student information system. Those courses you would have to, those courses you would have to manually create a course.
Right, exactly. So I just trying to figure out if that mirrors that process, and then those of us not at the teacher level, but at the education officer level, et cetera, would still be able to use this so we can build groups of teachers as our students versus children as our students for courses.
Correct.
Okay.
And so that's going to have to be kind of a conversation with Phil as to who can create courses. There's, you know, you noticed on my screen, I had counselor, teacher, student. There's different roles. And so it might be that it's on for certain people to create courses. There might be a request process. Hey, I need 3 empty course shelves so I can build 3 different PD classes. Who's going to do that? So, you know, these are all those things that come up, and sometimes you just have to make some new processes to make it all work. So that's kind of where you're at with some of those things, but they're all great questions.
All right, understood, Phil. That might be you.
I have a feeling a lot of stuff will be me after.
Yeah, I just had to put that out there.
But I think it's also one of those things, is there somebody else that could manage that? I can't answer that right now. So, but I want to make sure you understand those are things you can do. And I'm also here to kind of give you ideas of how to manage it. Excuse me.
Thank you for answering.
You're welcome. Sorry for coughing. I'm into hour number 5 of Schoology training today, so I think it's catching up to me. All right. So what we want to do now, everybody's in their Sandbox course. So we're going to at least get some folder structure done today. First things first, that picture in the upper corner. The blue picture with the white book is the default. You actually can change that. So when you hover over it, you will see the words edit picture up in the corner. And Schoology does give you other options to pick from, so you can pick one of those. You can also click Attach File. And if you happen to have clip art or something on your device that you want to use, you are welcome to go grab something off your computer. What I do tell people, and I'm trying to get better at this, I've been trying to clean some stuff out. You can, I try not to use the ones that I just downloaded off the internet. I try to go to websites that have copyright-free images that are available. And so I know a couple of these as I'm looking at them. They've got like images on them telling me that they are copyrighted. So I try not to use those. I'm trying to delete those out of my system. So basically, grab an image or something off of your computer, or you can use one of those other pictures. And so what happens is your students will associate that image to their teacher. So when the student comes in and they see their tiles, they see that picture and they know which courses to click on. It might not seem like a big deal, but imagine the student that has 5 or 6 classes and they all have the blue background with the white book. I know they can read, most of them, and you've got younger students that maybe can't read yet. How do they know what to click on? Change the images. You can, like I mentioned, tons of copyright-free places out there. If you are artistically inclined or a little bit more tech-savvy, you can put text on your images and then upload them. So lots of different things that you can do. We're gonna plow through some folder structure here today, and it'll leave us in a good spot for session number 2. In the middle section, you have an Add Materials button. You did not see that before because you were the student. You're now teachers in your course, so click the Add Materials button, and we are strictly going to concentrate on Add Folder. You are welcome to make folders that make sense to you. I worked for a science grant, so I tend to use my science knowledge on how I build things out. If you are working more with elementary teachers and elementary stuff makes sense to you, please build that. If you're a math teacher and you want to work on units, please build that. You do not have to type in the exact same words that I type in. Okay, you can personalize this for what you need. But I will tell you, the first folder I always make, regardless of the content area or grade level, classroom information. And then you do have folder colors. So if you like to color code, you can pick a color and then click Create. Classroom information. This is where I put all of my housekeeping items that I used to photocopy and hand out to my students. Syllabus, grading policy, student handbook, schedule of the day, all of it. All those things that my students are like, do you have a copy of? It's in the classroom information folder. What's the grade scale? It's in the classroom information folder. It's where you can put all those items. So you probably already have it in a file that's electronic. You'll be able to bring it in and put it into your classroom information folder. So no matter what grade level you're teaching, I always kind of recommend that as a place to put those items that students ask about. We're going to build some more folders. I'm going to do this multiple times, and I will walk you through how to bring in a picture, and we're going to talk about publishing and unpublishing. So I will do this over and over again. So if you don't catch it the first time, it's okay. I'm going to do it again. So we're going to end up with a whole bunch of folders here together. And again, you make whatever makes sense to you. All right. Add materials, add folder. I am making some science-related items, and so I'm going to do a session on astronomy. I'm typing in my title, I'm going to pick a color, and then I'm going to click Create. We're going to add another folder. Add Materials, Add Folder. We do a little project on famous scientists. Now, I want to add a picture. Some of my folders in the training course had pictures with them. How did I do that? You have a description line. So you have your folder colors, and then there's the word description. If the box looks almost square, it's kind of small, looks almost square, on that description line, all the way to the right, there's a little tiny arrow. Click that arrow. It is going to open up that window, and it's going to be a true rectangle, so it's much bigger now. Once you've opened it up, it stays open. Now that my window's open, on my description line, almost all the way to the end, spell check is the last item. Just to the left of spell check, there is a box with an arrow pointing into it. And when I click the drop-down arrow, it says Insert Content, and I'm going to go down to the very first item, Image. You can upload images from your device. There is a spot over here that says From the Web. I tend to not send you there because you spend too much time looking for images, and you end up grabbing images that might not be copyright free. So in our effort to teach our students to be responsible digital users, we need to do the same. So I tend to upload my images as I have been working on cleaning out the ones that I should not use, trying to practice what I preach, but I'm going to upload an image and waiting for my pictures to load. There they go. And I will grab one of my images and click Open. It's going to upload it. It's probably a little bit too big. So if I click on it, I get a little blue box around it. And up in the corner, there's a little circles. If you hover over those, the arrows show. And I can drag that image and resize it. That is a skill that you already have. You know how to do that from other programs. We are simply dragging and resizing. Click Create. I'm going to do that again, a little bit faster this time. So Add Materials, Add Folder. I'm going to put in my next topic. So ocean currents, waves, and earthquakes. I'm going to go over here to Insert Content, Image, Upload. I'm going to attach my file. Grab one of my images. It's going to upload, and I'm going to resize it. So when I click on it, I get the blue box. And I'm going to click Create. So we've done 2 folders with no pictures, 2 folders with pictures. We're going to do one more. Add Materials, Add Folder. And we are going to make a teacher resource folder. This is for me. It's where I can put notes that maybe I need for some of my presentations for my students. It's where I can just put the notes I have for my lectures. It's where I can put my scope and sequence or my curriculum map, things that my students don't need access to. I've put in the title, I've picked a color, I don't really need a picture, but at the very bottom before I click Create, it says Availability. We're going to switch that from Published to unpublished. And now we're going to click create. My teacher resource folder is at the very bottom and it's unpublished. There's a gray box around it. My students will not be able to see the items that are inside of there. It's unpublished. So I see it on my screen because I'm the teacher, but they will not see that item. So I scrolled down, I'm at the bottom, I can see my bottom folder, and I realize, you know what, there's a couple other folders that I need. Now, I can scroll up and click the Add Materials button, but if you hover your mouse in between any two folders, there is actually a gray line in between those. It's very, very thin, hard to see, but if you hover your mouse in between the folders, that gray line turns into a green plus sign with a dotted line. Click on that. I get my drop-down list. I can add a folder in this exact spot. Well, yes, you can drag and drop and reorder this all you want. But if you got everything done, you're like, oh, I forgot that folder. It's all right. Click the green plus sign with the dotted line, and we are going to add another folder. And I'm going to click create. I can add an item exactly where I want it. I'm going to do that one more time, but we're actually going to do something else with the publish and unpublish. So I'm hovering in between two of my folders. There's a green plus sign with a dotted line, add folder, and you know, I'm in charge of science fair, and my students were going to do some information around the science fair projects, but we are not ready for that just yet. At the bottom, I could unpublish the folder, but if I know I'm going to start science fair at the very beginning of November, I can actually publish my folder on a start date, and I can pick that date. So November 2nd is a Monday. Perfect. And it's going to open up at 7 a.m. I can schedule it to open for me, and I'm going to click create. The folder's going to have that gray box around it, but now underneath it, it says it's available, basically available for my students after November 2nd. So you can schedule your items to open. If I need it to open early, you have gear icons now down that right-hand side for every folder. Click the gear icon. You can publish and unpublish right from here. You can edit any item. You are the creator of everything in your course. You have access to make changes to every single item. If you spelled something wrong, click the gear icon and edit. You don't like the color folder, click the gear icon and edit. I need to unpublish a folder, I can do that. If you want to schedule a folder to open or close, you have to actually click the gear icon and edit. You can't do that. But I can publish my science fair folder right from here. And now it's available. So you have control over your folders. Last thing before we wind up our day together, you don't like the order. That's okay. Click and hold the folder, not the name of it, the actual folder. Click and hold the folder, and you can reorder your folders at any point in time. So walking away today, before session number 2, you have your sandbox. You should have some folder structure in place. If you want to build a different folder structure and you don't like the first one you made, build a new one. We're not back together tomorrow. We're not back together till Thursday. You have time. Build a new one. You want to try out scheduling and publishing and unpublishing? Try it out. Absolutely. You still have access to the original training course. If you want to go back in there and look at ideas and get a good sense of what you want to build, by all means. Come to our next session with ideas. I'm going to show you how to build pages, discussions, assignments. We're going to embed links. We're going to embed slide decks. Have a few things ready to go so that you can just grab them and use them. And it's okay if you don't have a ton of resources. You can use the same stuff over and over again. You can use the same picture over and over again. It's the process of understanding how it works. And it's okay that if it's not perfect, you can always change it later. You have access to edit everything. All right, day number 1, check it off the list. We got through a lot, and we are in a really good spot for session number 2. We will spend the entire time during session number 2 building more course materials. We really just got started. And I have a question about reviewing how to add a picture, and by all means, I can show you that. But I'm going to actually add another folder and do it one more time. So when I do my add materials, add folder, to add a picture to a folder, I gotta give it a name. I think I already did this one, but that's all right. Insert content. And we're going to use that insert content button a lot. So when I do insert image, this is how I add a picture to my folders. So I'm just going to grab one of these quick once they load. There we go. And then I can resize that. If you need to add a picture to your course, when you hover over the course image, it says Edit Picture. Simply click that, and you can attach a file from there. This is going to be the same process over and over again. It does not matter. When I get to pages, discussions, assignments, and I want to bring in a picture, it's Insert Content. Insert Content Image. It will be the same every single time. Once you master it, you've got it. You don't have to learn something new. All right, that is it for today. No official homework, but I do encourage you to look through those materials in the Master Instructor course. I encourage you to have ideas for Thursday's session. I'm going to build stuff. You are always welcome to do what I do. I use a lot of web links in session number 2, so have some links ready to go. I tend to use things like NASA, the U.S. Geological Survey, the Royal Society of Chemistry. So if you have some websites that you tend to use, be ready to grab those links.
Good
All right.
question, Lori.
Yes.
Can we? Oh no, we can. But what is is there a maximum file size to upload our own videos? So if I shoot something, what's the maximum size I can put up there?
I gotta look. Mine says 512, so it's pretty decent sized. And what I can tell you is I record my trainings. Your guys' was only 2 hours, but I have some that are 3. And so I can upload, once that's converted and compressed by the Zoom software, I can upload a 3-hour training video and I have no trouble. I'm not even coming close to that file size limit. So.
Okay.
All right.
The other question is, first of all, everybody, I just dropped a link in the chat. Can you guys just fill that out, please? That's the survey for today. I want to make sure everybody gets their professional development hours. If you can't access it, I know people have been having issues accessing the link. I will email it out as well. Also, Lori, I have some teachers have been asking me, can they, these like teachers within this group that we have, can they start working on like going through Schoology with the staff already? Because people been messaging me, oh, I like it, can we start now? So
I think, Philip, that's kind of up to you guys and maybe an internal conversation of how you want to roll Schoology out to your staff. I mean, you guys have had 2 hours of training. You are not prepared for any of the other material items or any of the grading conversation. So, you know, you might want to hold off till we get through our 6 hours. I think you also want to have some consistency as to what is being presented and when.
okay.
So I do think, you know, I've got a getting started agenda that I can share with you guys. It's a great 2-hour training, but you're not even ready to present all of everything that's on that 2-hour agenda. So I would say right now, folks, if you can hold off, Philip, I'll send you the getting started agenda, but I think you guys want to decide how that training is going to look and feel. And we want to make sure all of our teachers do some of the same things. I understand you're anxious to get started, but I also think having a plan to roll it out to your teachers is also important. So I think we need to kind of meet someplace in the middle.
All right, that's fine. I was just, you know, I'm getting the back channel on my
Correct.
Just wanted to.
No, I understand. I would say let's get a little bit further into training before you start unrolling it to the teachers en masse. Let's get a little bit further.
All right.
Okay?
Yep.
All right. We'll be back together on Thursday for 2 more hours. So
Same time.
thank you. You guys
Thank you
have a
very
great
much.
day.
You too. Thanks.
You're
Lori.
welcome. Bye.
Goodbye.